Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. On Saturday, Nigerians were inundated with news reports stating that the federal government was set to arraign the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the CJN, Justice Walter Onnoghen, before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, the CCT, in Abuja at 10 a.m. this morning on allegations of false assets declaration. Now, this followed a petition that was filed by a former aide of President Muhammadu Buhari, Dennis Aganye, who is also the Executive Secretary of the Anti-Corruption and Research-Based Data Initiative, a civil society organization. Unexpectedly, the confirmation by the Code of Conduct Bureau, that's the CCB, that the Chief Justice of Nigeria will indeed be docked this morning, caused widespread outrage, with many Nigerians imputing many reasons for the inauspicious move by the government to arraign Justice Onnoghen with barely a month to the general election, which has incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari as one of the contestants. Now, leading the outcry are several of Nigeria's lawyers who were of the view that the executive arm of government had overstepped its bounds and was tampering with the independence of the judiciary, which could snowball into a constitutional crisis. In a move reminiscent of the lawyers' movement or the black coat protests, which rocked Pakistan in 2007, when former President Pervez Musharraf attempted to remove the Chief Justice of that country. 150 senior Nigerian lawyers have reportedly offered their services free of charge to defend Justice Onnoghen and fight for the independence of the judiciary. Joining us this morning to discuss the legal and political ramifications of Justice Onnoghen's arraignment is one of the foremost opponents to the attempt to oust the CJN, seasoned lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Olisa Agbakoba. Welcome and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Now let's get a true understanding of the charges brought against the CJN. Is he in breach of the Code of Conduct Bureau Act, Section 15?
That's not important.
Why do you say so? It is very important.
No, it isn't important.
Is he in breach of that?
No, it isn't.
Order?
It isn't important. The CJN is not above the law, but that's not the point. The point is the head of a third co-equal branch of government, and there's something called due process. You can't be sitting here, and the policeman comes and takes you away. That's not due process. So that's not the point at all. The point is the CJN enjoys immunity. Often, people don't understand that there are two kinds of immunity. The one that we very well know, covered by Section 308 of the Constitution, that inures in favor of the chief executives of Nigeria, governor, president, Section 308. Immunity came from the Treaty of Versailles in 1508 and became known as the sovereign doctrine of immunity, which broke into two. One became personal, one official. The personal one inured to heads of states and ambassadors, and now to governors. The other one inures to certain designated officials, such as the judiciary. So there are only two ways that you can deal with a judicial officer, clearly stated in the law and confirmed by the Court of Appeal. One, in respect of all judicial officers, the NJC, in respect of heads of courts, they enjoy official immunity, which is why the only way you can remove them is to lay a charge at the Senate. And upon 2/3 voting of the entire Senate, confirming the removal, the president removes. There's no other way.
Well, you know, he hasn't actually said he wants to remove. The point is there is a charge leveled against him, and that's what is important
And
here.
so we say the charge is incompetent.
You are saying so?
All of us.
Okay.
Today we're going to appear in court. He's not going to come to court. We've advised him not to come to court.
Right.
Because the court is an inferior tribunal. The procedure is wrong. It's not due process. He's the head of a co-equal branch of government. So nobody can summon him to court except as prescribed by law. That hasn't followed. That's not to say that he may be guilty or not. That's not even the issue. Nigeria respects due process and the rule of law. Follow it. What's the problem?
Are you saying that if due process had been followed, which is...
Go to the Senate.
Okay.
Or the NJC. And if it had gone to the NJC, then I would expect that the CJN will be sensible enough to recuse himself because he's the chair.
So you are also calling for him to recuse himself?
No, it hasn't gone there.
Okay, so my question is, if it had gone through due process, which
Yes.
is this charges taken to the NJC to be
Yes.
investigated,
Yes.
would it then make it any more of...
It would make it due process compliant. And therefore would then say, what is the issue?
Then there will be a case to
Yes,
answer.
so the question you're asking me is irrelevant because they haven't followed due process. It's when they've done the right thing that you can then say, what exactly are the charges? So we, in the defense that we're going to put up for the CJN, will be to say, even the CCT itself, in the case of Justice Nguta, threw out the charge on grounds they had no jurisdiction. So it baffles and beggars belief that the CCB will receive a petition on Wednesday, frame charges on Thursday, get it signed by the professor chair of the CCT on Saturday, and then say he should come to court today. It's a super efficient federal government. It's a super efficient federal government.
Now, this unseemly haste is suspicious, and it's also trite that the practice of law is based on adhering to strict rules of procedure,
Absolutely.
such that even whether your case or not has merit, if it's not properly filed before a competent court within the right time, it will be dismissed. What informs this clear breach and this haste? There's allegations of mischief on the part of the federal government, bearing in mind that elections are around the corner.
Well, that's the point. That's the problem. I was speaking to a senior government official just yesterday in Abuja, and I was saying when we were having a conversation, so well, now you want to look for a soft landing. But why shoot yourselves in the foot? If there's something wrong with this guy, with this CJN, do it in the proper way. I don't understand why this is the case. So the necessary conclusion is the question you've asked. Is it about the election? Because you see, the judiciary has given several diverse decisions that hasn't favored the APC. In particular, the one concerning the APC gubernatorial candidate from Rivers. And all that little things, Okorocha in Imo and this and that. So is it that the government thinks that the judiciary is anti the APC? I don't know. But these are the speculations now fueled by this idiotic action.
All right, you have told us that the processes to this issue is wrong.
No, I haven't told you. It is wrong.
I'm
the one who was saying.
You have
there's
said that.
There's a difference. I don't accept that question. It is wrong.
It is
I'm
wrong.
not telling you.
Okay.
It's in the Constitution.
Saying that it is wrong. The Constitution says it is wrong.
Absolutely.
But there is a statement credited to Justice Onnoghen himself, who says that he forgot to declare his assets.
Yes.
Isn't that an indictment in itself?
It isn't an indictment.
No. A man who swore to uphold the law.
Yes.
He should know the law.
Yes.
So he should not forget,
Yes.
to do the things that are right through due process.
Take him to the Senate. Take him to the NJC, if he's saying that. He didn't say he was wrong. He didn't accept he was wrong. He had put words into his mouth. He simply said, I forgot. Whether that would indict him in the Senate remains to be seen. So if that is so, why don't you take the statement he has made and have an easy case and then take it to the Senate or to the NJC and say, even the man has accepted culpability. So my point is due process, really.
All right.
And due process is so important, which is why we always say that it's better to allow, the saying, when people are guilty, 10 of them, you let 9 guilty people go than to convict 1 innocent person.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, I'm sorry, we have to hold your line of thought. We have to go live now to the CCT in Abuja, where we have Arise News editor Christian Ogodo on standby. Hello, Christian. We spoke to you a moment ago. Bring us up to speed. What is going on at this time?
Well, gradually, the Code of Conduct Tribunal in the Jabi district of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, you can see from the shot, that's the building just right behind me. And gradually the staff are coming in, and we've seen 1 or 2 lawyers so far, and I'm sure in another hour or so we're going to have be having a full house. So far, I mean, the expectations are high. Just the battery of one other TV station and a couple of journalists on ground here. So we're all waiting to see what the situation is going to be like. If you look just to my right, there is a lawyer here who's walked on to short. I'm sure he's an interested party in this matter. You want to quickly say what your name is? You're live on Arise News.
Well, my name is Yaman Desmond, a legal practitioner. I'm here to represent the interests of the Nigeria Bar Association with the proceedings of today, which is very important to us.
How important is this? Some of you have described it as like a slap on the judiciary, an intimidation of, the judiciary and rubbish in due process. Is that how lawyers are seeing it?
Well, to a larger extent, we feel it's an act of illegality, an act that is contrary to the estate laws in Nigeria today. The pronouncement of the court as to how a judicial officer should be brought to justice is quite clear, and this is an anomaly, and we tend to challenge it to bring the integrity of the judiciary to bear. So we do not intend to allow this illegality go unchecked.
Okay, apart from the court proceedings, which we are waiting for, everybody, the whole world actually is waiting to see if Walter Onnoghen, Chief Justice of Nigeria, is having possibilities.
We know that the CCT has no jurisdiction. Without it being first resolved.
Okay, that was Christian Ogodo, Arise News editor in Abuja, in front of the CCT, and we did see a legal practitioner there walking to the shorts, expressing the same view as you have. But we've had those like Professor Issa Sage, who says, this does establish the fact that no one is above the law and it should be held. Yeah,
that's one part of the story. And let me also say that Professor Sage was a man that had my great respect. Right now, he doesn't have it. I'm shocked that he's saying this sort of nonsense. He is one of Nigeria's oldest distinguished deans of law. He was removed on due process as Dean of Law of the University of Benin. We fought for him, so I'm disappointed in what he's saying. But the half of what he says is right, which is that nobody is above the law. And I didn't say the CJN is above the law. Neither is the President of Nigeria. All I'm saying is the President of Nigeria, for instance, enjoys immunity. So you cannot take him to criminal court. But if you wanted to remove him, it's in the Constitution. It's an impeachment process. That's all you need to do. No one is above the law in Nigeria. But the law provides different mechanisms for dealing with people who commit offenses while serving in government. So let me repeat. Due process is important. The CJN is under due process. But, hey, do the right thing. That's all the NBA is saying. And I'm speaking on behalf of the president of the bar when I say this here, and he's going to be out there today. You will see him. The team will be led by Wole Olanipekun, accompanied by the former Attorney General, Kanu Agabi, and there'll be about 150 other lawyers to appear to make the point. And I don't think the case will last any long, because all we need to do is to cite Ngota versus the Attorney General. Ngota was a Supreme Court judge who was accused of wrongdoing, and the thing went before the CCB, and upon objection, it was thrown out.
Sorry, you said moments ago that the CJN would not appear.
No, it won't appear.
So why are you going to court? Why we have 150 senior advocates still go to court?
He will not appear personally, but will respond to the process he has received. We've received the process from him. We've studied it, and I think by this time, Kanu Agabi, leading the team of the NBA, should have filed the objection, which would be to the point that having held in Ngota and AG that Ngota a 7th Supreme Court judge cannot be brought before the CCT, then it is an easy case for the tribunal to decide that this case has been brought to the wrong court and it should go to the NJC.
All right. If, for instance, due process was followed, is the National Judicial Council empowered to investigate such issues as undisclosed foreign currency?
Absolutely. Any infraction, the NJC has a code of conduct, and interestingly, Regulation 3 of the Code of Conduct embraces declaration of assets.
Wouldn't you describe this case as a criminal case?
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. Let us say even until the Court of Appeals decision is overturned, it's the law. And the law is whatever infraction, civil or criminal, committed by a judicial officer, the point of reference is the NJC.
What sort of unintended consequences are we likely to see from this? Because some of the reasons given by some senior lawyers and yourself is that this is going to rubbish the judiciary and, again, the office of the CJN of the country. What sort of unintended consequences are we likely to see from this?
Constitutional crisis. Downing of tools by lawyers. Boycotting of courts by judges. Because we're not taking this lightly. We've been consulting, and we're all angry. So it's going to lead to a constitutional crisis if the government thinks that they can take the CJ out this way, and it's not going to happen. Not on our watch, it's not going to happen, I can assure you that. We are strong and resolute that this rubbish will not happen. It will have the grievous consequences for Nigeria. So I will appeal to the federal government to withdraw the charge, and in the event that there is anything against the CJN, proceed to because I'm also filing a case today in my personal capacity as a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, a lawyer of 40 years standing, and a taxpayer. I have a right to do that. So I'm going to go to court to even ask the court a different question, which is, I take a narrow view. I want to explore the law here. My point would be, the only way to remove a head of court is by impeachment, not even by the NJC. So I distinguish between judges who will go before the NJC for investigation, and if cleared, they go. If not cleared, they face the consequences. But in respect of a head of court, only the Senate can deal with the CJN. If you read the Constitution carefully, you'll see it. Gross misconduct of any type, whether it's civil or criminal. The law here is unclear, but let's see what the courts will say.
Now, there are parallels between this situation and the case of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Buratai, when he was accused of having properties in Dubai. That matter was referred to the Army Council, who acquitted him. He was not dragged or hauled before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Do you see this as a double standard?
Absolutely. I mean, double standard. It's a good thing you raised this. Not only the Army Council, but even the court-martial process. The first port of call is to take police officers before the orderly room trial, or officers before the court-martial. It is upon a finding of guilt that they proceed to the ordinary courts. So why would they do this for the Chief of Army Staff? Different in the correct way, and this time not the correct way. So it's fueled a lot of speculation and discussion. People are saying, what's behind all this? I don't want to say it's about the elections, but people are saying it.
All right, you talked about the speed with which this case has been taken. What is unusual about it?
It's too fast. That's what's unusual. It's never happened. We're not efficient.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Maybe we just want to start being effective.
No way, it's not true. It has not happened. You bring a petition on Wednesday and you want to rile me up, you can't. Bring a case on Wednesday and Friday it's in court. No way. We're not that efficient. Cases take 10, 20 years, I beg.
Isn't that the judiciary we're praying for?
Please, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. It's not possible.
Okay, so...
It's not possible. You know it. You all know it. You can't bring him... Look, okay, when did they give him time to respond? I call you, give you a charge on... I don't even call you. A petition comes, a complaint comes on Wednesday. The charge is framed by Thursday. Ah, hooray to the federal government. Bravo, fantastic.
He responded by saying he forgot to declare his assets.
Did he respond to the petition, to the charges? He hasn't responded to the charges now.
But he has responded to the
He just said,
whole
yeah, because
issue.
because he's aware there's something going on. And I think that response was even good of him because he had no business to respond. All he would have said is, under Section 36, yeah, right of fair hearing, I'm entitled to be investigated. Nobody told me anything. I just saw the charge. I read about it in the papers. So, isn't he entitled to have the time under the Constitution?
That response indicts him as an upholder of the law.
No, the response doesn't indict him. He didn't say, I'm responding to the charge. He just said, here's my own side of the story. He didn't say, I've received the charge, and therefore here's what I'm saying.
So going forward now, the CJN is not going to appear in court. Personally, he'll be represented, as is his right.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully, well, from your perspective, the case will be dismissed because of lack of jurisdiction over this matter.
Yeah.
What is the next option for him, and what is the next option for the government? Will they take this charge, as Fade is saying, will they try and get the numbers according to Section 292,
Who now?
the federal government?
Am I the federal government?
Well,
You can't ask me that question.
I'm asking to speculate.
I'm not going to speculate. All I'm saying is for them to withdraw this rubbish charge and do the right thing.
What is the likelihood of getting two-thirds majority as is required by the
Impossible.
Constitution?
Can't happen.
That's what I'm asking you.
That's what you wanted to know.
Yes.
It won't happen. No way. It's not going to happen. I don't see that happening. It's a highly political thing. And by the way it's gone has given credence, rightly or wrongly, that something is fishy. So it's become political. It's going to be APC on one side, PDP on the other side. It's going to be. So there's no way they can get two-thirds.
Okay, it's become a bit of a political matter now, but if the CCT finds him guilty, what's the punishment by law for false assets declaration?
You see, not going to find him guilty.
Yeah, but what if they do?
They will not. I'm 150% confident.
But hypothetically, let's know what the punishment is.
We will not talk hypothetically when I'm just telling you that the same CCT in Ngota versus the Attorney General said we don't have jurisdiction, so why should I speculate? I won't do the work of the federal government for them. Let them go do their homework about what the charges are, where to go, what are the issues to be done. That's not for me. I'm not a prosecuting counsel in the Ministry of Justice. My good friend Malami, who's the Attorney General, knows what he should be doing. And I'm disappointed that someone who is my good friend would be there as Attorney General and not to advise them to do the right thing. And this hocus pocus that the president doesn't know is what the CIA used to call plausible deniability. In the old days when the CIA was killing people around the world, and the President of America would say, I'm not aware. I'm not aware. President Buratai is not aware. He's aware. This kind of big deal can't happen without the president knowing that it's happening. I wanted to put that in.
So you're refuting that claim of ignorance?
Completely. Okay, if it's true, why has the president not authorized the Attorney General to withdraw the charge, if true? It's the usual plausible deniability doctrine. He denies it plausibly. So people say, oh, my hand, we were wondering, how would this go on? The president didn't know, innocent man, full of integrity. Arise has done a beautiful interview showing his human face. So he didn't know. Not true, he knew. He knew.
The Justice Nguta case everybody seems to be referring to, help us understand this. It said a judicial officer must first be stripped before they can be prosecuted?
No. How do you mean now? In
that case, and that's the precedent everybody seems to be referring to.
The Nguta case was very simple in that the...
In Gajua, beg your pardon. The Ngajua case.
In the Code of Appeal.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened was that the EFCC, and not only him, there were so many judges.
Okay.
The EFCC, the DSS had gone to break their doors and all of that, brought them before various courts. So he now proceeded to the courts. And eventually, the Code of Appeal set out the procedure, which I'd like to summarize. You cannot go against a judge unless the NJC first deals with the matter. That's the principle that was laid down.
Exactly. But the CJN is also the head of the NJC.
Absolutely.
So how will this work? Can he be judge and jury in his own case?
Because he will recuse himself, and as a deputy chair of the NJC, he will recuse himself. I agree with you. When I was president of the bar, I had finished my tenure, and I was on the NJC, we on the bar side have taken the view that the NJC is, the composition should be balanced. And this now shows why it should be balanced, that the CJN plays a dominant role in composing the NJC. So one of the good questions would be, if you go to the NJC, where the CJN has dominance, how would there be a fair process? So maybe this is a good opportunity to also say, we need to review the composition of the NJC. But I think it will be quite simple. If the matter goes to the NJC, he should recuse himself as chair.
And don't you think that this is the reason why the petitioners decided to go to the CCT, because of the composition of the NJC and how it, and the influence the CJN wields in that composition?
Well, but he's done the wrong thing. I might have thought that if he had gone to the Senate, that would have made more sense. Because as I said in the beginning, it's not often understood that judicial officers have official immunity. And that official immunity inures to them, except it is removed by either the Senate in respect of heads of courts or the NJC in respect of judicial officers. So our dear friend has done the wrong thing by going to petition the CCT. It's the wrong procedure. So,
and did this process infringe on the doctrine of separation of powers?
Clearly. That's the whole idea. Clearly. The reason why the Constitution has been so arranged is not because we don't know that there might be a culpable CJN, but it's because of the doctrine of co-equal heads of governments. So you must not allow the other head to impugn into the powers of another separate head, what Professor Nwabeze famously calls the notion of limited government. So the executive power of government is limited and entrusted to the president. But he can't encroach into the legislative space, nor can he encroach into the judicial space. That's what this is all about.
Now, you've raised the topics of the review, of a possible review of the NJC. Right. Do you also think that the CCT law itself needs to be reviewed and reformed such that we actually succeed in making public officials accountable to us as the general public? Because really, what is the intention? It's accountability and transparency. But you look at a situation like this that's about due process, so we'll set this aside, it's not on the merits. But like the Saraki case that fell apart, what can be done to tighten these regulations so that it actually delivers as intended?
It's to also understand why the CCT exists. The CCT has been given wide powers by the same very Supreme Court, ironically, in the Saraki case, wrongly in my view. Because there are two kinds of courts in Nigeria, superior, and Section 6 of the Constitution covers them, High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court. Any other court of whatever description is described as an inferior court. So the CCT, with the professor referring to himself as Mr. Justice, ain't no Mr. Justice, he's Mr. Chairman. Judges are only appointed by the NJC. So the CCT isn't a court at all. The CCT has a limited purpose. Asset declaration. So if we can return to that purpose, then there will be clarity. But now that the CCT imbued itself with criminal jurisdiction, that's where it all went wrong. So I hope this will also be an occasion to say, why do we need a CCT?
And why is there such foot-dragging from public officials in the declaration of their assets? Even the president and the vice president fell foul of that. I do, but I'm asking.
They're stealing money. That's why. If you have 10 naira as a public officer when you start, and then you have 1,000 naira, you don't want to declare so that no one can know. You make it opaque. That's the reason.
But it makes a mockery of the law, because there's even a timeline. It's within 3 months of your appointment, you're supposed to declare. The president didn't do that. The VP did not do that within 3 months.
That's part of it. That's part of it. I agree entirely with you.
It is understandable that the CJN is enjoying the support and you could say solidarity of members of the judiciary, the Nigerian Bar Association. But critics have said that in saner climes, an argument of this sort would have made the person in question resign his appointment. What are your thoughts?
What would he resign? What has he done wrong?
Clear his name.
No, just have to clear his name. If you think there's something against him, take him to the right place. I don't just come and say, you know what, I've done something wrong, I resign. No, it's you, the police officer or the customs officer.
And that's what they've done. You just said here right now that assets declaration, the CCT, was formed for crimes against assets declaration.
Yes.
So, and that's what they've done, taking him to the CCT.
What they've done wrong is to break the rules that have been set by the Constitution and the courts. So you take him before the appropriate institution. That's the NJC, and say, this man has done so and so. So they will look at it and say, oh yeah, we agree. So then they strip him of his immunity. Do you agree in the notion of immunity, for instance, that the president of Nigeria has immunity, and even if he was caught with a smoking gun, you can't take him to a court? That's the same principle. Maybe
they felt he heads the NJC, and there will be no point in sending the case to the NJC where he heads, and the case will not see the light of day. So they went straight to the court of CCT.
I agree with you, but that's wrong, unfortunately. So I think we're talking roundabout. It's wrong. I agree that at the end of the day, there might be something. I don't say there isn't anything. I'm not here to say that the CJN is or is not. That's not my problem. Am I in his pocket? I'm not. I don't know. I have no idea. But you know what to do, which is go to the NJC. And if the NJC receives the petition, then the next thing is to say to the NJC, but the man is the chair, so let him recuse himself. And I think people will say, oh, yes, this is reasonable. There is a deputy chair, so he can then preside, set up the panel. And if the finding is, yes, there's something here, then they refer it to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. But the Attorney General can't do that. That's my point. It's the wrong thing to do.
This administration has taken a swipe at the judiciary several times when it comes to the fight against corruption. If it's the invasion of the judges' houses, the NBA chairman currently is facing some allegations, corruption, written all over. There seems to be the notion that the judiciary itself is corrupt and finds a way to cloak officials from facing the law, which is supposed to uphold.
The judiciary as an institution is not corrupt, but there are a lot of corrupt judges, I have to admit. And when I sat on the NJC, I made that point that we're too conservative, we're too slow, and the public perception of judicial function is against us. You know, because I don't want to go to a doctor and it will take 9 years to be cured of malaria. So the perception of the judiciary and the legal profession to which I belong is not a favorable one. It isn't. Too slow, too archaic, too conservative, running on a framework that the British designed in 1875. We are still wearing a rubbish wig and gown. Come on, we need to modernize. So this may be the occasion to say, it's time to pick up speed. We're too slow. The CJ of the Federal High Court.
Clearly, you're in need of reforms.
Absolutely. And I'm one of the champions, but I don't have a voice. I'm alone. Do you know I actually went to court to say to the court that the NJC has an independent arm of government, has a funding mechanism. Because the problem now, NJC writes up a budget for the judiciary, say 1992. It goes to a level 10 officer in the Ministry of Finance, who just stops it. But I said, no, the NJC should send its appropriation to the National Assembly directly. The conservative judges refused, even though I won the case. So that's part of the problem. So when you don't have funding, you can train your judges, right equipment, the relevant tools are not there, rules of procedure are slow. So I hope this is a good lesson for them. Judges, hope they're listening. It's a good lesson for them. This is a wake-up call. If you do not take aggressive action to reform, Nigerians will not have sympathy for you.
And also with Nigerians having sympathy, the fine point of due process might be lost to most of the members of the public.
Absolutely.
Please, can you explain why that is important, not just for the Chief Justice of Nigeria, but for every single Nigerian?
The fine points will be lost because they say these judges are lawyers, we're all rogues. You know, I've spent countless, when they say a thief, all of us are part of the people cutting the money, you know. And the reason for that is that the thing is too slow. You see on TV, oh, they're taking this governor to court. It's all show, bail, blah, blah. That's the end. There are some governors sitting in the National Assembly. Uzokalu, Enugu governor, Namani. 10, 12 years. Who's going to have confidence? So what's wrong with these lawyers and judges? Taking so long. So public confidence in the judiciary is at an all-time low. And therefore, some people may not sympathize with the CJ and say, what does it matter? What nonsense procedure? Did he not declare? In fact, he has even said that he made mistakes. So what's this due process about? That's a fine line.
Indeed.
So we need to come back smoking.
Well, the CJN is not a businessman.
No, he's not.
His salaries are not paid in foreign currency. The huge stash of foreign currency...
No, it's not true. Not true. They get allowances.
Well, allowances...
Don't say what you don't know.
Allowances wouldn't amount to
I
all
will tell
of
you
that.
now. They get allowance, ESTA codes. Why do you think they like to travel a lot? They get ESTA codes. They move around. So for a judge who is almost 70, it's not unusual to have $10,000, for Christ's sake. It's not unusual. I've looked at the amounts. If it was big numbers, don't you see the ones the governors have? Yeah, looking at the small money that the poor CJN has. It's nothing unusual.
Isn't this in any way akin to money laundering?
No, how can it be money laundering? All they say is that he's not declared his assets. That's all. Nobody is saying that he's stolen anybody's money. So the question is, where did he get the money from?
Yeah.
But if you really look at it, their numbers are very small. They are very small. But like I say, do the right thing. Then we shall go into your question of where did you get it from? But for now, we can't. That's what it is.
All right, we'll have to end it there with you this morning.
Thank you very
Olisa Agbakoba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Pleasure, as usual.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's time now for a short break on Arise News. When we come back, we will be joined by a politician and public affairs analyst, Segun Akabashun, to stay with us.